Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I want to talk about something that might sound a bit strange at first, how to disappear and transform yourself. I know it sounds like something out of a spy movie or a magic trick, but what I'm talking about today is a kind of disappearing that goes deeper. It's about stepping back from the noise of life, pressing pause on the expectations of the world, and giving yourself permission to create space for transformation. Now, why would anyone want to disappear in the first place? It's because at some point, most of us find ourselves feeling lost, trapped in identities we never really chose, or stuck in patterns that don't serve us anymore. We might find ourselves saying yes when we want to say no, or playing roles that keep us safe but leave us feeling empty. Embracing solitude can often feel intimidating, especially in a world that prizes connectivity, productivity, and constant interaction. Many of us associate being alone with loneliness, an experience that can feel isolating and painful. However, solitude, when embraced intentionally, is fundamentally different from loneliness. It is a deliberate choice to step away from the noise of the world and create a space for ourselves to think, reflect, and simply be. Solitude can become a sanctuary, a space where we can reconnect with our inner voice, which is often drowned out by external influences and expectations. When we choose solitude, we give ourselves the rare gift of time and space to explore who we are without the input or judgments of others. It can be challenging at first because we live in a culture that equates busyness with worth. We are taught that to be alone is to be unproductive or unloved. But this mindset can keep us trapped in a cycle of seeking validation and approval from others rather than seeking understanding from within. By stepping back and embracing solitude, we interrupt this cycle and open the door to profound self-discovery. In solitude, we can begin to hear our own thoughts without the clutter of outside opinions. It's a time when we can ask ourselves the big questions. What do I want from my life? What do I value most? Am I living in alignment with my true self? These questions are often buried beneath the surface, hidden under the expectations of family, friends, and society. It's easy to lose sight of our own desires when we are constantly bombarded by messages about what we should be doing, who we should be, and how we should live our lives. Solitude offers a quiet space to peel back these layers and explore our true selves without interference. The process of self-discovery through solitude can be uncomfortable. Many of us are not used to spending time alone with our thoughts. When we remove distractions, we might encounter emotions and memories we have been avoiding, feelings of regret, unresolved grief, or fears about the future. It's natural to want to turn away from these uncomfortable feelings, but it is precisely by sitting with them that we begin to understand ourselves more deeply. We learn to recognize the patterns in our thoughts and behaviors, the beliefs that have been driving our actions, and the fears that have been holding us back. Solitude provides a space for us to get curious about these feelings rather than judging them. Instead of dismissing our fears or pushing away our sadness, we can examine them with compassion. Why do I feel this way? What is this feeling trying to tell me? When we give ourselves the space to explore our emotions without judgment, we often find that they hold important messages about what we need and what is missing in our lives. This kind of introspection can lead to profound insights and breakthroughs. In the quiet of solitude, we also discover the things that truly bring us joy and fulfillment. Without the influence of others, we can explore our own interests, hobbies, and passions. We may find that activities we once thought we enjoyed were actually driven by a desire to fit in or to gain approval. Solitude allows us to strip away these external motivations and rediscover what genuinely lights us up. Whether it's reading, painting, walking in nature, or simply sitting in silence, we learn to enjoy our own company and nurture the parts of ourselves that have been neglected. Moreover, solitude helps us build a stronger sense of self-worth. When we spend time alone, we are not relying on others for our sense of identity or validation. We begin to understand that our value is inherent, not determined by our productivity, social status, or the number of likes we get on a post. This realization can be incredibly empowering. It frees us from the need to constantly seek approval and allows us to live more authentically. We become more comfortable in our own skin, more confident in our decisions, and more aligned with our true selves. Embracing solitude also enhances our ability to connect with others in more meaningful ways. It might seem paradoxical, but the better we know ourselves, the better we can relate to others. When we understand our own needs, boundaries, and desires, we are less likely to lose ourselves in relationships or try to conform to what we think others want from us. Instead, we can show up fully as ourselves, offering genuine connection rather than a curated or performative version of who we think we should be. In solitude, we learn the art of being present. Without the distractions of our devices, the noise of social media, or the pressure of constant communication, we can fully immerse ourselves in the present moment. We become more attuned to our surroundings, more aware of our thoughts and feelings, and more mindful of our actions. This presence is a powerful tool for self-discovery because it allows us to observe ourselves without judgment. We can notice our habits, our reactions, and our triggers, gaining valuable insights into our inner workings. Ultimately, embracing solitude is about giving ourselves permission to be who we are without the influence of others. It's about taking the time to listen to the quiet whisper of our own voice, the one that gets lost in the chaos of everyday life. It's an opportunity to reconnect with our inner wisdom, to trust ourselves more deeply, and to cultivate a relationship with the most important person in our lives, ourselves. By carving out space for solitude, we create the conditions for true self discovery, laying the foundation for a more authentic, fulfilling life. This process isn't easy and it requires courage. It's a radical act of self love to step away from the noise and say, I am worth the time and effort it takes to understand myself, but the rewards of this journey are immense. We emerge from solitude with a clearer sense of who we are, what we want, and how we want to move through the world. And that in itself is a profound transformation. Letting go of old stories and limiting beliefs is one of the most transformative steps we can take in our journey of self discovery and growth. We all carry with us stories about who we are, what we are capable of, and how the world works. These narratives are often formed early in life, shaped by our upbringing, experiences, culture, and the people around us. Over time, they become deeply ingrained, turning into a kind of mental programming that guides our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. These stories can be powerful in shaping our lives, but they can also be incredibly limiting when they are based on fear, self doubt, or the expectations of others. One of the most common limiting beliefs is the idea that we are not enough. This belief might manifest as thoughts like, I'm not smart enough, I'm not talented enough, or I'm not worthy of love. These beliefs are often rooted in experiences from our past, perhaps a harsh comment from a parent, criticism from a teacher, or a moment of failure that left a lasting scar. Over time, these isolated incidents become internalized, and we start to see them as truths about ourselves rather than momentary setbacks. We build entire narratives around these beliefs, allowing them to dictate our choices and actions. We might avoid taking risks, trying new things, or pursuing our dreams because we believe we're simply not capable or deserving. Letting go of these old stories requires us to first become aware of them. This can be a challenging process because these narratives are often so deeply embedded in our subconscious that we don't even realize they are there. We might think that the way we see ourselves and the world is just the way things are, rather than recognizing these perceptions as stories we have been telling ourselves. To identify these limiting beliefs, we need to pay attention to the moments when we feel stuck, fearful, or resistant. What thoughts come up in these moments? What do we tell ourselves about why we can't do something? These are clues to the stories that are holding us back. Once we have identified these limiting beliefs, the next step is to question their validity. This is where the work of letting go truly begins. We need to ask ourselves, is this story true? Is it an objective fact, or is it just a narrative I've come to believe? For instance, if you hold the belief that you're not good enough to succeed in a particular area, you might examine the evidence for and against this belief. You might realize that while there have been moments of struggle or failure, there have also been moments of success and growth. You start to see that the belief isn't an absolute truth, but rather a lens through which you've been viewing your experiences. By challenging these beliefs, we begin to loosen their grip on us. Letting go of old stories also involves recognizing where they came from. Many of our limiting beliefs are inherited from the people who raised us, our cultural environment, or significant life experiences. We might have absorbed messages from our parents about what is possible or impossible, internalized societal norms about what we should or shouldn't do, or learn to see ourselves in a certain way based on past failures or rejections. Understanding the origins of these beliefs can be liberating because it helps us realize that they are not necessarily reflections of who we truly are. They are reflections of the environments we were exposed to. This awareness gives us the power to choose new beliefs that align with our true values and aspirations. However, even when we intellectually understand that these stories are not true, letting go can still be difficult. They feel familiar, and in a way, they provide a sense of security. Even if a belief is painful, it's often easier to hold onto what we know than to step into the unknown. This is where courage comes in. Letting go of old stories requires us to embrace uncertainty and the discomfort that comes with change. It's about trusting that we are capable of creating new narratives, even if we don't yet know what they will look like. One powerful way to start rewriting these narratives is through the practice of affirmations and self-compassion. When we catch ourselves thinking limiting thoughts, we can consciously choose to replace them with empowering ones. For example, instead of telling ourselves, I'm not good enough, we might say, I am learning and growing every day, and I am enough just as I am. This practice might feel awkward or unnatural at first because it goes against the grain of our habitual thinking, but over time, these new thoughts can start to feel more authentic and believable. Self-compassion also plays a crucial role in this process. As we work to let go of old beliefs, we are likely to encounter setbacks and moments of doubt. It's important to be gentle with ourselves during these times, acknowledging that change is hard and that it's okay to struggle. Letting go of limiting beliefs is not about denying our past or pretending that we haven't experienced pain or difficulty. It's about choosing not to let those experiences define our future. It's about recognizing that while we cannot change the past, we have the power to change the way we interpret it, and by extension, the way we see ourselves. Every time we choose to let go of a limiting belief, we are making space for something new, a new story, a new possibility, a new possibility, a new way of being. Accepting the discomfort of the in between phase is one of the most challenging but necessary parts of any transformational journey. This phase is the space between who we were and who we are becoming. It is the period where the old has fallen away, but the new has not yet fully emerged. It is a time of uncertainty, ambiguity, and often discomfort because it requires us to let go of the familiar and step into the unknown. We may not yet have a clear vision of where we are headed, which can leave us feeling lost, vulnerable, and exposed. Yet it is in this very discomfort that the seeds of transformation are planted. The discomfort of the in between phase stems from our natural aversion to uncertainty. As human beings, we crave stability, predictability, and control. We find comfort in knowing what to expect and in feeling like we have a solid grip on our lives. We are in the midst of change, however, that sense of control is often stripped away. We are no longer anchored by our old routines, beliefs, or identities, but we haven't yet established new ones. It feels like we are floating in a sea of uncertainty with no clear direction or destination in sight. This can trigger feelings of anxiety, fear, and self-doubt. We might question whether we are making the right choices or if we have what it takes to navigate this transition successfully. One of the hardest parts of this phase is the temptation to retreat back to the familiar, even if the familiar is what we were trying to escape in the first place. The discomfort of the unknown can make us long for the safety of our old habits, identities, or environments. We might find ourselves thinking, maybe it wasn't so bad after all, or I should just go back to what I was doing before, at least I knew what to expect. This kind of thinking can be a way of seeking refuge from the discomfort of growth. But if we give in to this temptation, we risk stalling our transformation and missing out on the opportunity to evolve into a fuller, truer version of ourselves. To navigate the in-between phase effectively, we must learn to embrace discomfort rather than resist it. This means recognizing that discomfort is not a sign that something has gone wrong, but rather a natural part of the process of change. When we embark on a journey of transformation, we are, in essence, stepping into uncharted territory. We are breaking away from old patterns and venturing into new, unfamiliar spaces. Just as a caterpillar must dissolve into a formless goo inside its chrysalis before it can become a butterfly, we too must go through a period of disintegration before we can fully integrate our new selves. The discomfort we feel during this phase is often a result of shedding our old identities. We are letting go of the roles we used to play, the labels we used to wear, and the stories we used to tell about ourselves. This shedding process can feel disorienting because for a time, we may not know who we are without these familiar markers. It's like walking through a fog where the landscape is constantly shifting and we cannot see the path ahead clearly. But in this fog, we are also free from the constraints of our past selves. And this is where the possibility for new growth lies. Instead of trying to rush through this phase or numb the discomfort with distractions, it can be helpful to sit with it, to allow ourselves to fully experience the unease. This might mean feeling the fear of not knowing what comes next, allowing ourselves to grieve the loss of our old selves or facing the uncertainty of our future without a clear plan. It's about acknowledging the discomfort, holding space for it, and trusting that it is an essential part of the process. This willingness to be with our discomfort is what allows us to move through it rather than get stuck in it. One of the key lessons we can learn in the in-between phase is patience. We live in a fast-paced world that celebrates quick fixes and immediate results, but real transformation takes time. It's a slow process that requires us to trust in the unfolding of our journey, even when we cannot see the end result. Patience means allowing ourselves the grace to be in this liminal space without forcing an outcome. It's about accepting that we might not have all the answers right now and that it's okay to take things one step at a time. In this way, patience becomes an act of self-compassion, a way of honoring our own process of growth. Another important aspect of navigating the in-between phase is embracing uncertainty as an opportunity for creativity and exploration. When we let go of our old selves, we make room for new possibilities that we may never have considered before. We have the chance to experiment, to try new things, and to explore different aspects of our personality. It's a time of exploration where we can redefine our values, reconsider our goals, and recalibrate our vision for the future. In this sense, the discomfort of the in between phase can be seen not as a barrier, but as a fertile ground for innovation and discovery. This phase also requires us to cultivate resilience. As we move through the discomfort, we are building our capacity to tolerate uncertainty and ambiguity. Each time we resist the urge to retreat back to the familiar and instead lean into the discomfort, we strengthen our resilience. We learn that we can handle not knowing, that we can survive the ambiguity, and that we are capable of navigating the unknown. This resilience becomes a core part of our transformed selves, equipping us to face future challenges with greater confidence and inner strength. In the end, the in between phase is where the real work of transformation happens. It's where we confront our fears, shed our old skins, and learn to embrace the unknown. It's a time of profound internal change, even if it looks like nothing is happening on the surface. By accepting and embracing this discomfort, we allow ourselves to undergo the deep, transformative process that leads to true growth. We come out on the other side with a clearer sense of who we are and a stronger foundation on which to build our new selves. It's a journey that requires courage, patience, and a willingness to be uncomfortable, but it is the discomfort itself that shapes us into the people we are meant to become. In a world that celebrates grand gestures and big, bold moves, it can be easy to overlook the power of small, quiet choices. We often think that transformation requires drastic, life-changing decisions, a complete career shift, a big move to a new city, or a dramatic overhaul of our daily habits. While these significant actions can indeed be powerful, they are rarely sustainable without the foundation of smaller, consistent choices that build up over time. It is in these small, quiet decisions that the real work of transformation happens. They are the subtle shifts in our thinking, the minor adjustments in our behavior, and the everyday moments when we choose a different path than we might have in the past. These choices may seem insignificant on their own, but together they create a powerful momentum that can lead to profound and lasting change. Focusing on small, quiet choices starts with recognizing that transformation is a process, not a one-time event. We often get caught up in the allure of immediate results and instant gratification, expecting that one big change will magically solve all our problems or lead us to the life we desire. However, this mindset overlooks the fact that true, meaningful change is built gradually. It is the cumulative effect of countless small decisions we make every day, often without realizing their importance. Whether it's choosing to wake up a little earlier to meditate, deciding to take a walk instead of scrolling through social media, or opting to speak kindly to ourselves instead of being self-critical, these small choices set the stage for deeper, more substantial transformation over time. The power of small, quiet choices lies in their consistency. While a dramatic, sweeping change can be exhilarating, it can also be overwhelming. We might set lofty goals or make ambitious plans only to find ourselves feeling burnt out or discouraged when we can't maintain the pace we initially set. Small choices, on the other hand, are sustainable because they don't require us to completely upend our lives. They are manageable, achievable, and less intimidating, making it easier for us to stick with them over the long term. For example, if you want to improve your physical health, you might start by making one small change, like drinking an extra glass of water each day. This might seem trivial at first, but as you consistently make this choice, it becomes a habit. Over time, this habit can lead to a series of other positive changes, such as feeling more energized, making healthier food choices, and being more motivated to exercise. It's a ripple effect that starts with one small decision. Small, quiet choices are also powerful because they are often made in moments of stillness and reflection. In our busy, fast-paced lives, we tend to prioritize the big, loud decisions, the ones that demand immediate attention and promise quick results. However, it's in the quiet moments when we slow down and tune into ourselves that we can make the most meaningful choices. These are the moments when we listen to our inner voice, consider our true desires, and choose to act in alignment with our values. It might be as simple as deciding to take a few deep breaths when we're feeling stressed instead of reacting impulsively. It might be choosing to say no to something that doesn't align with our goals, even if it feels uncomfortable in the moment. These choices may not be visible to others, but they have a profound impact on our lives because they reflect our commitment to living authentically. Another aspect of focusing on small, quiet choices is that it helps us build a strong foundation for change. Just like a house needs a solid base to withstand storms, our personal growth requires a stable groundwork of healthy, supportive habits. By making small, consistent choices, we gradually build this foundation, creating a sense of stability and confidence in our ability to change. Each small choice becomes a building block, reinforcing our commitment to our goals and helping us gain momentum. Over time, these choices become second nature, and we begin to see the cumulative effects in our lives. We might notice that we feel calmer, more focused, or more confident, even if we can't pinpoint a specific moment when the shift occurred. It's the result of countless small actions adding up over time. Focusing on small, quiet choices also allows us to celebrate incremental progress, which is essential for maintaining motivation. When we set big goals or strive for significant changes, it can be easy to feel discouraged if we don't see immediate results. However, when we pay attention to the small steps we are taking each day, we can recognize and celebrate our progress no matter how modest it might seem. This acknowledgement of our efforts can be incredibly motivating because it reminds us that we are moving forward, even if the changes aren't yet visible on the surface. It's a way of reinforcing the belief that we are capable of change and that our small actions are making a difference. Small, quiet choices also help us develop a deeper sense of self-trust. Every time we make a choice that aligns with our goals or values, we are sending a message to ourselves that we can be relied upon to take action in our own best interest. This builds our self-confidence and reinforces the belief that we are capable of making positive changes in our lives. Over time, this self-trust becomes a powerful force that propels us forward, making it easier for us to take on bigger challenges and make more significant changes. We begin to see ourselves not as people who need to be fixed or transformed overnight, but as individuals who are capable of growth and evolution, one small step at a time. Lastly, small, quiet choices allow us to be more present in our lives. By focusing on the small actions we can take in each moment, we shift our attention away from the distant future and bring it back to the present. Re-emerging authentically after a period of transformation is one of the most powerful experiences we can have. It marks the moment when we step back into the world as a more genuine version of ourselves, having shed layers of conditioning, old beliefs, and the false personas we may have worn to fit in or please others. It's a process of coming back to our core, understanding who we truly are, and embracing that identity with courage and openness. This journey toward authenticity requires us to reflect deeply on our values, desires, and unique characteristics, allowing us to live in alignment with our truest selves. Re-emerging authentically is about showing up fully, embracing our imperfections, and sharing our true selves with the world without fear of judgment or rejection. The first step in this process is embracing vulnerability. Authenticity cannot exist without vulnerability because being authentic means being honest about who we are, including our struggles, fears, and insecurities. When we put on a mask or try to present a curated version of ourselves, we are protecting ourselves from potential criticism or rejection. However, this self-protection comes at a high cost. It creates a barrier between us and the people around us, preventing genuine connection. To re-emerge authentically, we must be willing to take off these masks and allow ourselves to be seen for who we truly are. This means embracing our flaws, our mistakes, and our humanity. It means saying, this is me with all my imperfections, and I am worthy of love and acceptance. Part of re-emerging authentically involves letting go of the expectations and opinions of others. Throughout our lives, we are influenced by societal norms, cultural expectations, and the desires of those around us, family, friends, colleagues. These external pressures can shape our decisions and behaviors, leading us to live in ways that may not be true to our inner selves. We might pursue careers we aren't passionate about, maintain relationships that don't serve us, or suppress parts of our personality to fit into a mold that was never ours to begin with. To re-emerge authentically, we must challenge these external influences and ask ourselves, what do I truly want? What feels right for me? Regardless of what others think, this process requires us to trust our own inner voice, intuition, more than the opinions and judgments of others. It's about reclaiming our power and making choices that align with our true desires, even if they go against the grain of what is expected. A critical aspect of this journey is accepting all parts of ourselves, the light and the shadow. It's easy to embrace the aspects of our personality that we like or that are socially acceptable. However, authenticity requires us to acknowledge and integrate the parts of ourselves we may have disowned or hidden away. These could be qualities we were taught to suppress, such as our sensitivity, creativity, or assertiveness. They could also be aspects we perceive as weaknesses or flaws, such as our fears, insecurities, or past mistakes. By bringing these parts into the light and accepting them as integral components of who we are, we become whole. We no longer feel the need to hide parts of ourselves to fit in or to be accepted by others. Instead, we stand in the fullness of our being, embracing everything that makes us unique. Re-emerging authentically also involves aligning our actions with our values. It's one thing to know who we are and what we stand for, but it's another to live in a way that reflects those values consistently. When we act in alignment with our values, we create a sense of inner harmony and integrity. We feel more at peace with ourselves because we know that our actions reflect our true beliefs and desires. This might mean setting boundaries in relationships, making career choices based on passion rather than prestige, or speaking up about things that matter to us, even if it's uncomfortable. Living authentically requires courage because it often means making choices that are difficult or unpopular. However, the reward is a life that feels more meaningful and true. Another essential element of re-emerging authentically is embracing the idea of growth and change as part of our authentic selves. Authenticity is not about being static or rigid, it's about being true to where we are at any given moment. As we grow, learn, and experience new things, our perspectives, desires, and values may shift. Re-emerging authentically means allowing ourselves the freedom to evolve. It's about giving ourselves permission to change our minds, try new things, and redefine what authenticity looks like for us at different stages of our lives. We are not bound by our past choices or identities. We are dynamic beings capable of continuous transformation. An important part of this process is finding a community that supports and celebrates our authentic selves. While it is vital to cultivate self-acceptance, having a network of people who accept and appreciate us for who we are can be incredibly affirming. These are the people who see us in our vulnerability, who understand our values and dreams, and who encourage us to be our true selves. Surrounding ourselves with such individuals creates a safe space where we can express ourselves openly without fear of judgment. It's a reminder that we are not alone in our journey and that there are people who will love and accept us just as we are. Ultimately, re-emerging authentically is about stepping into our power and taking ownership of our story. It's about recognizing that we have the right to define our own identity and choose how we show up in the world. We no longer need to seek validation from others or conform to external standards. Instead, we live from a place of self-acceptance and self-love, knowing that our worth is inherent and not contingent on the approval of others. This sense of inner freedom allows us to approach life with a greater sense of joy, curiosity, and openness. We become more willing to take risks, to explore new possibilities, and to pursue what truly lights us up. When we re-emerge authentically, we not only transform our own lives, but we also inspire others to do the same. By showing up as our true selves, we give permission to those around us to embrace their own authenticity. Our willingness to be vulnerable and real creates a ripple effect, encouraging deeper connections and a greater sense of community. In a world where so many people feel pressured to conform or hide their true selves, living authentically is a revolutionary act. It's a powerful statement that says, I am enough as I am, and I am willing to be seen for who I truly am through this act of courage. We step into the fullness of our being and invite others to do the same, creating a more authentic, connected, and compassionate world. Transformation is often seen as a process of change, of becoming something entirely different, but in truth, it is about becoming more of who you truly are. It's not about shedding our identities to create a new one from scratch, rather. It is a journey of peeling back layers of conditioning, expectations, and fears that have obscured our authentic selves. It's about uncovering the core of who we are and bringing that essence to the forefront of our lives. Instead of striving to be someone else or to fit an idealized version of ourselves, transformation is about returning to our true nature, honoring our innate qualities, and allowing them to shine without reservation. At its core, transformation is a process of self-discovery and self-acceptance. Many of us spend years, even decades, living according to the expectations of others. We adopt roles that society, our families, or our peers have assigned to us, molding ourselves to fit into the boxes that others have constructed. We may take on careers because they are considered prestigious, hide parts of our personality to avoid judgment, or pursue goals that don't resonate with us simply because we've been told they are the markers of success. In doing so, we disconnect from our true selves. We lose sight of our own desires, passions, and values, replacing them with external benchmarks of worthiness. Transformation then is about reclaiming our inner voice and aligning our lives with our authentic selves. This journey toward authenticity requires us to examine the narratives we have internalized about who we are supposed to be. We all carry stories from our past beliefs we've picked up from childhood experiences that have shaped our view of the world and cultural norms that have dictated our behaviors. These stories can often be limiting, telling us that we are not good enough, that we need to be a certain way to be accepted, or that we must follow a specific path to find happiness. Transformation involves challenging these narratives and recognizing them for what they are, constructs that can be rewritten. It's a process of questioning the beliefs we've taken for granted, asking ourselves whether they truly serve us or if they are merely holding us back. By letting go of these limiting stories, we open up space to discover who we are beneath the layers of societal conditioning. An essential aspect of this process is embracing self-acceptance. To become more of who we truly are, we must first learn to accept ourselves as we are. This means embracing not only our strengths and successes, but also our flaws, vulnerabilities, and mistakes. Often, we resist this part of the process because it can be painful to confront the parts of ourselves we've been taught to reject. We may fear that if we acknowledge our imperfections, we will be unworthy of love or acceptance. However, true transformation can only occur when we stop trying to be someone we are not and start embracing the entirety of who we are. This self-acceptance is a radical act of love that allows us to see ourselves not as a collection of flaws to be fixed, but as whole beings who are already enough. Transformation is also about tuning into our inner wisdom. Each of us has an intuitive sense of what feels right for us, a guiding voice that knows the direction we should take. However, in the noise of everyday life, it's easy to drown out this inner voice with the opinions and advice of others. We might seek validation from external sources, constantly looking for signs that we are on the right path. But true transformation requires us to quiet the external noise and turn inward, to listen to our intuition and trust ourselves to make the choices that align with our values. This inner guidance is unique to each of us. What is right for one person may not be right for another. When we listen to our intuition and follow our own path, we begin to live in a way that is authentic and true to who we are. As we go through this process of becoming more of who we truly are, we often find that it is less about adding new traits or skills and more about letting go of what no longer serves us. It's about shedding old identities, habits, and mindsets that we have outgrown. Just as a tree naturally sheds its leaves in autumn, we too must release what is no longer aligned with our true selves. This shedding process can be uncomfortable because it requires us to confront the parts of our lives that feel safe and familiar but are ultimately restrictive. Letting go can bring up feelings of loss or fear of the unknown, but it is a necessary step in making room for new growth. Through this release, we become lighter, freer, and more open to the possibilities that life has to offer. The process of becoming more of who we truly are is deeply personal and unique to each individual. It is not about conforming to a predefined idea of what an authentic person looks like. Rather, it is about honoring our own unique journey and the qualities that make us who we are. For some, this might mean reconnecting with a creative passion that was put aside in favor of practicality. For others, it could involve standing up for themselves and setting boundaries in relationships where they've been silent. It's about identifying what brings us joy, what lights us up, and what aligns with our deepest values. When we begin to live in accordance with our authentic selves, we experience a sense of fulfillment that comes not from external achievements, but from the simple act of being true to ourselves.